So typically on the Worship Blender YouTube channel, we talk about things that are worship music related, but for today's blend, we're actually going to do a review of the Fenix PD36 TAC flashlight because, hey, everybody needs a good pocket flashlight. So let's check it out and see if it's any good. All right, so this is the Fenix PD36 TAC. And we're going to go ahead and unbox this thing, but this is what the packaging looks like. That's kind of interesting. Something's loose in there. I'll have to see what that is. All right, so it's got this. It's got seals on here to indicate that it is straight from the factory. Nobody's been tampering. So we got to break that little seal there. I think I got it. I don't know. I can't tell. Good grief. There we go. Move that out of the way. Oops. Didn't mean to tear that. Alrighty. Try not to tear the box in case I have to return it or resell it or whatever. All right, so there it is. So let's take this out here. Of course, it's got this little caution doohickey attached to it. There we go. Looks nice. And your typical cheapy holster there. That's probably what was bouncing around in the package, the charger. And some manuals and a spare O-ring. Looks like, yeah, that's everything there. I'm guessing the battery's already going to be in here. And there's the battery. It's actually, this thing's very, very light. Don't know if it's going to have a charge or not. Now it's locked out. Whoa, holy cow. I'm blind now. Okay. Yeah, and let's turn it to the other mode. This is probably duty mode. Yep. And I know people have mentioned this tail cap is different, and it certainly is. I actually don't recall it looking like that in the photos. I thought it was more of the rubberized tail cap like on all the other models of Fenix's flashlights, but this one's actually kind of like a plastic cap on there. That's kind of weird. Yeah, that was weird. I'm not sure I like that. So the tail cap is definitely different. You can't really tell the difference between half on and full on because there's no like click. Like for here, half on, clicks on. So that's kind of weird. I might have to get used to that, see if I'm actually going to like that or not. But anyway, here's the flashlight. And if we compare it to some other Fenix flashlights, this is the TK16, which is roughly the same length. It's just TK, of course, is a little bit beefier on the head. Here is the LD30. And this is the one that I've had in my pocket for like the last 8 years or so, the old PD25, which has been a very faithful flashlight, but just wanted to upgrade to something more powerful. But it definitely, this guy definitely sits in your pocket really well and you don't even know it's there. So yeah, other than this weird feeling tail cap, I'll have to see what I think of this. All right, so let me show you how the flashlight fits into my pocket. First, I'm going to show you the light that I've been using for the last 8 or so years, this little PD25, which is a fantastic little pocket flashlight. And it just goes right in. It slides right in and it sits right in place and it's perfect. And it virtually disappears and you never really feel it on you. So obviously that's going to be a good pocket flashlight because of the size of it. And then you got the the LD30, which is a little bit bigger. I don't like the clip because it doesn't slide in like the PD25 unless you actually use your finger to kind of pull it out a little bit to get it past the material there. It doesn't slide in as easy, but it still sits pretty good in the pocket. It pokes up a little bit more. It's not as deep carry as the PD25, but overall it's a pretty easy flashlight to pocket carry, just not as easy to put in. Then we've got the TK16, which I don't advise as a pocket flashlight. I don't use it as a pocket flashlight, but you can use it as a pocket flashlight. And again, it doesn't slide in like the PD. Well, it does, but you kind of got to work it a little bit because it's a much tighter grip there, and it's just more mass to deal with, so it doesn't slide in as well. But of course, it likes to poke out pretty good there. So it's kind of hard to fully conceal there. It's gonna show itself while it's in your pants, but overall it's not too terribly bad considering the size. And then let's now do the PD36 TAC. And again, trying to slide it in like my PD25 is just not going to work. It's just gonna get caught on the material of my clothes, even though it kind of has that same hook type of clip that the PD25 has, but this one just seems to slide in better. I'm guessing because of the mass, and also probably because this clip isn't painted, I'm guessing, so it just slides a little bit more. It's a little bit slipperier, if I could say the word, making up a word, I guess. So again, like on this one as well, you kind of have to pull it out a little bit to get it to slide in. Otherwise, it's going to kind of really tear up the edge of your pants here, although this is an old pair of work pants that are already pretty well torn up. But anyway, I don't want to make them any worse. So yeah, so that's how it fits in. It doesn't poke out. It doesn't seem to poke out as much as the TK16, but it is definitely more noticeable. It surprisingly has a nice little poke right here. You can see. So that's how it looks like in a pair of dress pants, or my day-to-day work pants, office work pants, I should say. All right, this is another test of pocket carry with the flashlight. The first one that I did on the video was with a pair of my work dress pants, and it didn't go in as well. Just as a follow-up to that, the next day I took this flashlight to work with me in a different pair of pants, and it went in a lot easier, and it didn't print as much. So definitely the type of pants, dress pants that you wear will vary on the results of how well this sits in the pocket. But overall, I think it did pretty well in the dress pants that I had on, and when I took it to work, and I didn't notice it too much in my pocket. It actually felt pretty good in my pocket, and so yeah. So now I want to try it with a pair of jeans, and this is probably one of the tighter pair of jeans I have, which is why I wanted to try with these pair, just to see how well it prints in a pair of jeans, or how well it doesn't. And so also how well it goes in. Now, like, see if I just had it like this. I tried to do it one-handed. I'm going to have to work it a little bit. Where I might have to do that. But what you'll notice is once I get the head of the flashlight in, using one hand without playing with the clip, it does slide right in. It didn't do that on the other video that I had with my dress pants, but definitely on a pair of jeans, it seems to slide right in there without me having to play with the clip to get it to go down in there. So that's good. So now here's what it looks like with the flashlight in my jeans pocket. You know, I can adjust it around a little bit according to where I want it positioned. Usually I tend to kind of push it a little bit towards the hip out of the way. And if I were to be in a sitting position, it feels okay, although obviously that's where you'll start feeling the end of the flashlight kind of rubbing against your leg right there. But overall, as I'm moving my leg like this, coming in and out of a sitting position, it really doesn't ride up any. It pretty much stays put. So that's good. Even if I were to put it here, obviously in that position, there might be more of a chance of the light getting triggered from this button, but it's not on. But anyway, I can definitely feel it more in that position, which is why I typically have my flashlight over to the side. But overall, as you can see, it fits pretty well in a pair of jeans. Compared that to the flashlight I was using before, the PD25, which just of course goes in, you know, super easy and disappears in the pocket other than the silver clip. But otherwise it's nice deep carry, and of course I don't really feel it at all when I move my leg like this. I mean, not at all really. So that's why this is such a good pocket carry flashlight. Comparing it to the LD30, which has a bigger head on it, so it's a little bit more to kind of get down into the pocket. And then because of this particular clip that Fenix uses on some of their lights, the two-way clip, which I don't think is designed really well, because when you go to put it in your pocket, I really had to really push down on it to get it to break past the material of the pocket. So obviously that's going to, you know, wear on your clothes after a while, and it's just not as easy of an operation. You tend to have to pull it out a little bit with your hand to get it to go down in, but otherwise it's a pretty good pocket carry flashlight. As you can see, it disappears pretty well. Not quite as deep carry as the PD25, but still a very easy flashlight to carry. So that's how the PD36 TAC works in a pair of jeans, just in case you're curious, because obviously if you're carrying a pocket flashlight, one of the most important things is how well does it carry in the pocket. Okay, so here's some test shots outside with the flashlight. This is with the PD36 TAC in the lowest mode, or I should say the lowest light setting. And this is between the two cars in the driveway looking out into the front yard. Let's turn that all the way on, and then let's go to the next brightness level. And then the next brightness level. Then the next brightness level. And the next, if we got one. Yes, that would be the turbo there. So that's 3,000 lumens right there. As you can see, that's a cardboard cutout, life-size cutout of Elvis Presley, about 60 feet in front of the red car there. So that gives you an idea of the size of a person, about 60 or around 60, 80 feet away. And I can feel the light starting to get warm in my hand here in turbo, at least towards the head. I'm sure at some point the light will step down. Usually a couple minutes is about the best you could expect, and then the light will step down. And then back to the lowest mode there. Now I'll put it in turbo. And then there would be the 2,000 lumen turbo mode in the tactical mode. And then here would be the strobe. So it alternates there, which gives it a little bit more craziness. And also you notice when I went into the strobe mode, from the on position, the light actually switches off. I do not like that at all. But if you have the light off and then you want to go straight to strobe mode and you push and hold, then it goes right to it after the lights, you know, the light will turn on and then it'll go to strobe, and then you won't have that blackout that you have when you go from full on to strobe. And then as a comparison, here is the TK16, and I believe this is the lowest mode. I should say lowest setting. And then here is the next power setting up. You can kind of see it looks a little bit more spot beamish compared to the PD36. So there you go. It has 1,000 lumen, I believe is the highest level on this particular light, but definitely a more concentrated, it seems a more concentrated beam. If you want some other comparisons, Let me see here. Here's the original PD25 that I was using. And I'm fumbling with the, trying to find the little button on the side so I can change the settings. That's why I'm moving away from this light as much as I love it, just because I hate, there we go, trying to find that little button. And high, and see, look how fast it steps down from the highest mode, so, or the highest brightness setting. So again, another reason to move up to something else. And then here's the LD36. And again, it's got a side button I got to look for. Here we go. So a nice, good floody beam. And I can see downrange pretty good on it too. So this is a really, really nice light. I like it a lot. So as you can see, the PD36 definitely seems to have a floodier beam. PD36, TK16, PD36. Also, another thing to notice, maybe it's just me, but it almost seems like here's the PD36 again. It almost seems like the PD36 has a little bit of a warmer tint to it. Of course, Fenix doesn't put any tint information on their website about their lights, so I'm only speculating, so I don't know exactly what the tint is, but it does seem a little bit more, just a hair more yellowish, but I could be wrong on that. All right, and to test that theory on the warmth of the actual light itself, let's go to a medium setting. This is the TK16, and let me switch this PD36 over to duty mode. Oh, somehow I'm not in the right mode here. Duty mode. Yeah, there we go. All right, there we go. All right, so this is the TK16, PD36. Put them side by side, and even if I bring up the brightness on that, you can still see that the PD36 here on the left has kind of a yellow, more yellowish tint. So kind of surprised that the warmer tint of the PD36 TAC, since most tactical lights tend to be more of a cool white, and I think every other flashlight that I can think of the Fenix flashlights that I have, all seem to have more of a cool white tint to it, where this one seems maybe a little bit more on the neutral side. I don't think it's fully a warm tint, but I could be wrong. I'm no expert on that. But it's definitely a little bit more yellow to it than the other flashlights I have. All right, so here is the PD36 compared to the LD30. Again, it seems like the LD30 is a little bit more cool white. Let me change the brightness setting on this too. Yep, I went down. That's good, a low setting. Yeah, let's try it on the lower. There we go. Yeah, not too far apart here, but it does seem like that's a little bit more cool white, but just a smidgen. Could be wrong. All right, so here is some shots of some treetops from far away. I would guesstimate these at being about 200-ish feet away. I could be completely wrong there, but that's just a guess. You can see the side of the house here. I'm in the driveway about 40 feet away from where I'm shining on the front of the house there, so these trees are off in the distance. There's the highest setting, the 3000. And here's 2000 in the tactical setting. And here's the TK16. Again, you can see it's more of a spot. Kind of gives you an idea of the throw on it. There's the highest setting. All right, so here's the headlights of my car, and here is the PD36. As you can see, it overtakes the car headlights. Car headlights definitely have a warmer tint to them there, so there you go. All right, so I do want to say that I unintentionally did a drop test on the flashlight. I've already dropped it on accident. I was standing up and I was moving in my hand and it dropped right out, hit the floor, turned it on, it worked fine. So an unintentional drop test. I would never intentionally do a drop test on something I purchased, but there you go. The floor that it dropped on, even though there's a thin vinyl, fake hardwood flooring, vinyl flooring, but underneath it, it's all concrete. So it was a good solid hit. But it didn't hurt it at all. Also had an unintentional strobe test where my wife, who's very familiar with tactical flashlights because she has access to all of my tactical flashlights, and of course she usually has one on her side of the bed and for middle of the night use, and I gave it to her because she wanted to see it when I was showing her the new flashlight. She said, "Oh, let me see it." So I gave it to her. And before I knew, she's familiar with tactical tactical flashlights, so she knows how to use them. And so, but I didn't think, oh, all the tactical flashlights that we have in the house are not a single button to get to strobe. And before I could tell her, oh, wait a second, she accidentally, even though she wasn't pointing at herself because she knows not to do that, she still had it in her lap and turned it on and wasn't expecting that and got quite a shock there. So she was a little stunned for about a half a minute there. So yeah, it's definitely a powerful flashlight, and it's also a durable flashlight. All right, so something I want to talk about on this flashlight is the knurling design on here. At least that's how I think you pronounce the word. That's how I hear everybody else pronounce it, is knurling, kind of a strange sounding word. But basically it's just the textured grip of the flashlight. And what's interesting is if you look at the PD36 TAC next to the PD, or I keep calling this a PD, it's a LD30, they have the exact same pattern, okay? Exact same. There's no, absolutely mirror image of one another. I don't know how well you can tell on camera, but it's the exact same pattern. Now, if you feel with your thumb, you rub it up and down, you can feel the roughness of that knurling. It's not that it hurts or anything, but you can just feel the friction that it causes. It creates a nice solid grip in your hand. So obviously then you're going to think, well, this is going to feel the exact same way, right? Well, not exactly. This is really smooth. So your thumb doesn't have the same catch as it does on here. I have much better grip on this than I do on this. It's not like this is going to slip out of your hand, but for whatever reason, I don't know why Fenix did this. It's almost like they polished off the knurling, or, took some fine sandpaper and made sure it was nice and smooth on top. And I don't know, I just don't understand why they did that. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. It's not a deal breaker. It's just something that is just odd for a tactical flashlight, for them to take the exact same knurling that's on this flashlight and then smoothen it out for this one. Odd. All right, so you might be wondering why in tactical mode the flashlight has 2000 lumen output, but in the duty mode it actually has a higher output of 3000 lumens. Well, actually, in my opinion, there's very good reasoning for that. In tactical, you've only got that setting. You don't have any other settings that you can go to, any other brightness settings. And obviously at 3000 lumens, the flashlight's going to burn through the battery a lot quicker at that lumen level. Whereas if you're in not outdoor mode, some of the other flashlight companies call it outdoor and tactical mode. This is tactical and Duty mode, there we go. So in duty mode, it has the 3000, and because if it starts stepping down really fast and at that brightness level, you can just adjust down to a different setting. And so that makes a lot of sense, because then in the tactical mode, you can have that 2000 lumen setting for twice as long. Basically, it's according to the Fenix store website where I bought this, it's about 3 hours at 2000 lumens, where it's about an hour and a half at 3000. So you don't want to be, this is basically marketed as well to, in addition to people who want just a tactical flashlight for self-defense, it's also marketed to police officers, which is why they call it the duty mode. I said duty. And so, obviously if they're in a situation, standoff or whatever, and they got their gun out or whatever, they don't want to go, oh, my flashlight's running out of battery. Hold on 1 second while I make some changes here. So, they want to get the maximum runtime. And really, but 3000 versus 2000, it's still a lot of lumen. It's a lot of light. And also, when you're in the 3000 mode, it's going to step down anyway. So the step down to where the 3000 lumen setting is and the 2000 lumen setting, really that steps down to about the same level, and you get longer time on the 2000. So that's why it makes sense. So if you think, hey, that's goofy that tactical mode has a lower lumen setting, it actually, in my opinion, makes sense. So there you go. Okay, so let's talk about the UI on this a little bit more. As we know, there's the tactical mode, which is right there, which means half press on, you get the turbo mode in 2000, full press on and let go, and you're in, of course, tactical mode, 2000 lumens on. Press it again, it's off. Press and hold, you're going to get strobe, so a strobe warning here. As you can see, there's a slight delay before it goes to strobe, so while you're pressing and holding it. Now here's another thing when you're in tactical mode. Okay, I'm going to press and turn it on. Full press, let go. Now I'll say I got the light on and I want to go to strobe. Watch this. As you can see, there was a time when the light shut off because, okay, I got the light on, now I'm going to go to strobe, so I'm going to push and hold, but the light thinks that I'm turning it off. See, it turns off, and then it goes to strobe. So that's kind of a weird quirk there. I don't really like that, because if you were in a situation where you had the light on somebody and they were, threatening you, and you had to go to strobe mode to try and disorient them and keep them from doing that, the light's going to go out for a second, then it's going to go on. And so, I don't know, that's just seems odd, because on this light, which is the the TK16 with this dual tactical tail switch, if I'm on, of course, let's go to a higher setting, I can at any moment add the strobe to it without the light going off. So that is the advantage of the dual tactical tail switch. So that is the one disadvantage to this particular switch. Okay, and then on the, we're in tactical mode here. One of the things that I really wanted in a pocket flashlight is I wanted to have instant ability to have the turbo mode, strobe mode, both instantly available, but also to be able to go straight to the lowest setting on the flashlight, because a lot of times that's the main setting that you're going to want to use. You're in the dark, you just need something to see something. You don't want to blow your night vision or anything. You just want the flashlight to come on at a low setting. You don't want to have to cycle through a bunch of high settings to get there. So a trick that I do is, okay, that's tactical. We'll switch it over to the duty mode, which of course you can cycle through all the different brightness settings in duty mode. And so say I've got it on the low setting, watch this, it's on the low setting now, I'm going to switch it back to tactical. So now I'm in tactical mode with the lowest setting on the flashlight. So then if I'm using it, and then I know, okay, if I need to quickly go to tactical, Oops, that didn't work. Again, that's getting used to the UI on this. Okay, so now we're in the lowest mode. I switch it over to tactical. Now push and hold. Oh, come on. This thing's making me look bad. Okay, so we're in the lowest light setting. Half press, that's what I gotta do. There you go, and now I'm right to the highest setting directly from the lowest setting. So it's a great way to bypass all of the different staging. So if I was in, you know, again, I'm back in duty mode, and if I go, oh, I need real quickly, I need that highest light setting, now I gotta kind of jump through and find it. And also play with this silly switch that's, there we go. So you overpress and you turn it off, or you just, you know, it does, because the switch isn't like these other switches, it's, which, you know, it's easier to, oh yeah, that doesn't do that. Sorry, this one is what I meant to pick up. So this, you can just quickly like cycle through and get exactly where you want. It's a lot easier because these switches are a lot better than this, whatever switch this thing is on this PD36 TAC. So that's a little trick you can do. And in that situation, it's really nice. Again, duty mode, I got it in the lowest setting, switch it over to tactical. And even if you do accidentally turn it off, if you turn it on again, you're right back into the turbo mode. So that's just a cool little trick. And then you can use that as then your way of having instant access to the turbo mode, strobe mode, and the lowest setting on your flashlight. So if you keep it in your pocket in tactical mode, but you need to go in the lowest setting, you just pull out of your pocket, you switch that over, boom, you're in the lowest setting. There we go. See, as you can see, this tail switch is really, it's taken me forever to adapt to it. And of course, this has a memory when you're in duty mode. So obviously, if you left it on a higher setting, like that, and then you go over to tactical, now you want to turn it on to the lowest setting. Look at that, I went to the lowest setting. Did I just learn something I didn't know? Hold on one second here. Let's do this, turn it on. See, this UI is a little quirky. Okay, turn it off, switch it over, tactical. Now let's go back to here, and it should be on the highest setting because of the memory. Yes, it is. Let's turn it off, well, let's turn it back on. Let's go to a, well, yeah, okay, let's keep it on, higher setting. Go to tactical mode. Okay, turn it off. Now let's go back here, it should still be on the same setting. Yes. Oh, did you just see that? It turned on and then it turned off. That's one of the, oops, and that's the quirks of this UI, is that I get a lot of instances where the flashlight doesn't do what I think it's supposed to do, or where, let's see if I can make this happen again. I've had this happen a lot too, where I turn it on half press, and then it'll come on and then shut off while I'm still half pressing. Of course, I can't make it do it now. Yeah, it's not going to do it for me now, of course. But there'll be times where I'll half press it on, and then the light will just cut off. And I'm like, hey, I'm still half pressing it. What are you doing? So it's just so hard to get used to this switch, because you can't tell, you know, a half press from a whole press, and you're like, a half press of what? Because I don't know what the whole press is. So it's like the only way you can really operate it is to just make sure you really mash it, and then it's on. And then kind of give it a little bit of a mash there. But even still, there'll be times when you, see, I turned it off. I didn't mean to turn it off. I want to stage up, and I might, oop, I overpressed, so now I turned it off. And there's nothing to tell you, oh, you've gone too far, or you know, there's nothing like on these lights where you turn it on, but, oh, you got to click. You can feel that, you can hear that, you know you've got to a full press. Where this, there's nothing to tell you you're half pressed or whole pressed. And that is the issue that I have with this. Now, when you're in duty mode, you can also press and hold and go straight to strobe. Sorry, I should have warned you before I did that. Or you can have the light on and push and hold and go to strobe. And again, I probably should have warned you on that. But again, you could see how the light turned off before it went to strobe when it's fully on. Going to go to strobe here. push and hold, and then it goes on, but the light went off before then. So that's just some of the quirks of the UI that you need to be aware of before you purchase the light. It's a totally different, for me anyway, it's a totally different UI. If it just had the same kind of tail switch as the other Fenix flashlights had, this flashlight would be absolutely 100% perfect. It's just I mean, other than the stupid tail switch, it's an awesome flashlight, and yeah, I highly recommend it. From here to here, but from here to here, not so much. Of course, I'm still getting used to the switch. So, but if you're going to have this flashlight, I think it is excellent as a tactical flashlight, because you can always know just to mash that button. As long as you're mashing that button, you're good to go. And if you're okay with kind of fumbling around with getting the right setting in duty mode, then you'll be okay with it. But if you're really expecting a flashlight that's really going to be tactile and really be responsive to what you're trying to make it do, this one might frustrate you a little bit. And that's what frustrates me so much, because it's like such an awesome flashlight. And really the UI, the idea here is so perfect. I love this, this